There was a moment I almost kept mission growth to myself. What you don't know is it could have stayed locked in a small conference room with 20 people. A passion project tucked into the corner of my week. But something inside of me began to whisper, if you don't share this, you'll regret it. And that's how this whole thing began. It's our birthday today. 2 years ago, Mission Growth came alive on YouTube. But let me be clear, this channel was never about views, algorithms, or trying to appear to be polished. It was about one question that has guided me from the beginning. What's your mission? Because the truth is, if you don't know your mission, by default, life will hand you one. And usually, it won't be one that leads you anywhere worth going. But the moment you start living with intention, everything changes. So this video isn't just about celebrating 2 years of mission growth. It's about pulling back the curtain to show why this even started. And more importantly, it's about challenging you to step into your mission. Let me take you back. The year was 2018. I was serving in the hospitality industry, leading a team of 80 people, a small amount of which were the management team. I was making good money and having fun doing it. On paper, my job was leadership, numbers, staff, processes, and events. We were busy. We were always moving, always chasing the next event, the next win, the next deadline. But the feeling that I couldn't shake was the persistent thought that there's gotta be more to this. I would leave work some nights with a restless feeling, like I was climbing a ladder that was leaned up against the wrong wall. Ever been there? And so in my restlessness, I decided to do something. Every week, we had an hour-long manager meeting. So to break up the monotony of speaking of the day-to-day, I added a 15-minute segment to close out that meeting. And I called it Mission Growth. It was simply a word of the week that was tied to personal growth. That's it. And at first it was just for my immediate team, the managers I was directly responsible for. But then something unexpected began to happen. People from outside our department began to show up. What y'all doing here? In a room that was literally built for 8 people, there are 8 seats at this boardroom table, ended up holding 20. People would squeeze in, shoulder to shoulder, not because they were looking for strategy, but because they were hungry for growth. And that was the first time that I realized growth isn't something you do alone, but growth multiplies in community. So what about you? Can you think back to a time where something lit you up? You stumbled into it, you weren't really looking for it. Maybe it wasn't in your job description. Maybe it wasn't in your 5-year plan, but it stirred something deeply within you. What was that moment for you? Did you follow it or did you bury it? As more people came, that little 15-minute meeting grew into monthly gatherings, and it didn't stop there. And what started as a side experiment turned into a movement in our company. And people weren't coming because they had to. They were coming because something in them came alive when we spoke about growth. At times they felt seen, and at times they felt challenged by the word on the table, but they always felt called higher. And I started to see my own mission clearly. I wasn't called to the hospitality business. I was called to the business of transformation. Fast forward a few years, I became the director of training, which allowed me to hone the speaking gift, work with teams, coached individuals, trained leaders. But underneath it all, the heartbeat stayed the same. Mission, grow. The room just kept getting bigger. And I'll never forget one meeting where a guy who didn't even work in our department showed up. He said, "Hey, look, Smalls, I don't know what this is, but I heard you doing something up in here, and I don't want to miss it." And that's when it hit me that when growth becomes contagious, people will rearrange their schedule, they'll cross the hall, and sometimes even cross the city just to be a part of it. Because deep down, every human being is asking, is there more in me than what I'm living right now? A question that only mission can answer. So why did this channel get born? It wasn't because I wanted to be a YouTuber. Honestly, I fought the idea for a long time. At times I looked in the mirror and said, hey, who are you? They don't want to hear you. They don't want to listen to you. But I kept thinking back to that crowded boardroom where people were spilling in and leaning up against the walls, maybe even sitting on the floor in the corner because there was something about growth that drew them in. And I began to think, what if this room didn't have walls? What if I could bring the same energy and at times even the same lessons to anyone, anywhere who's wanting to grow? That's when I began to hit record. And here's what I know about you, even if we've never met. You have more in you than you realize. In fact, there's a mission tied to your life that no one else can carry. And the world is waiting on you to stop shrinking back and start walking it out. Living your life without a mission is like driving without a destination. You burn fuel, you cover miles, you stay busy, but you never arrive anywhere meaningful. When you live with a mission, suddenly every mile matters. Every detour begins to teach you something, and every delay becomes a part of your journey. That is the difference between wandering through life and living according to purpose. So I ask you, what's your mission? Not what your job title says, not what society expects from you, not what family and friends told you to settle for. What is that thing in your heart that won't leave you alone? The thing you do if nobody paid you to do it. That burden you carry, that dream you keep pushing down, that whisper that keeps saying, hey, there's more. That's your mission. And until you name it, until you claim it, until you begin to walk in it, you will always feel like something in your life is missing. Take a second and ask yourself, if money wasn't an obstacle, if fear wasn't in the way, if the opinion of others didn't matter, what would you be doing with your life right now? That's the seed of the mission. I heard a story about a small coastal town that depended on a single lighthouse to keep ships on course during storms. The town had 2 lighthouse keepers. The first keeper showed up every day because it was his job. He lit the lamp, he trimmed the wick, polished the glass, and he went home when his shift ended. Nothing wrong with that. He did his duty, nothing more. The second keeper had a different approach. He knew that out on the stormy waters, there were families depending on that light to guide their loved ones home safely. Every time he climbed the tower, he would ask himself, how can I make this brighter? How can I ensure no one is lost tonight? One stormy night, a ship that had lost its way in the dark finally saw the beacon of light cutting through the rain and safely navigated the rocky shore. And the ship made it because someone treated their work like a mission and not just a task. You see, mission turns ordinary actions into life-changing impact. You might think what you're doing is small, maybe even invisible. Nobody's really paying attention. But if you align it with purpose, it can become a lighthouse in someone else's storm. So the question I leave you with is this: are you showing up just to get through the day? Or are you lighting the way for someone else? Mission growth was never about me. This YouTube channel is not about me. It's about us. It's about a community of people, expanders, choosing to grow. Not because life is easy, but because we refuse to stay the same. So here's my challenge to you on our 2nd birthday. Don't just watch my mission, step into yours. Don't you dare wait another year to figure this out. Don't let complacency hand you a mission that was never yours. Because at the end of the day, growth isn't about chasing perfection. It's about showing up day by day, living with purpose. If you enjoyed this video, I want you to drop in the comments, I'm moving towards my mission. And if you've been a part of this journey, whether you've watched one video or whether you've watched the 150 that are up here, thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community. Thank you for proving that growth is better together. And stay tuned, because I'm just getting started. Always remember that growth is a journey. It's not a destination. I'm in it with you, and I'll see you on the next one.